Hey everybody, it's Maiden. Good morning. Saturday, February 20th. Do you see how fast this month is going? It's so incredible. Okay, so I have my portfolios here and I want to talk to you guys about putting your portfolios together. It was part of the education sector, but this also segues into politics, into our judicial, Department of Justice, into our political, into our commerce. So all of this about education from K through 12, what to teach, how to credit, how to organize, how to build the value, all of that pertains to the 16 sectors of living inside of trade, outside of education. So you can follow me on all of this and it applies to your life. So I have evidence that I've been acquiescing to the highest powers of authority since 2000. Well, since my ministry started in 2000. Well, my ministry actually started officially in 1986 up here in Los Alamos. And the economic thing in my life, study changed when I became a real estate agent. And then I advanced to having my own brokerage. And I was responsible for people and deals and economics of contract. And we were to understand, we were accountable on many levels of court jurisdictions outside of our license, commission, regulation, and rules and regulation commission. High accountability, very low accountability, back reciprocity to you. You are, in real estate up to now in United States of America, to do a real estate contract, it was highly recommended to use a realtor because a realtor has an association. The biggest lobbyist in the White House, in Congress, the biggest lobbyist is the National Association of Realtors. Now, I am trying to let you know that as Maiden, God has moved my life as a missionary since 1986, and He's just layered that missionary status as my foundation, and He's just layered all of this other law and all this other study since really heavily since 2000, the year 2000, where I've been accountable to bigger associations and authorities. Since 2000 to now is 21 years, but in ministry since 1986, also accountable to headship. So what I'm trying to say is that I have a lot of research and study behind all of the stuff that I bring to you. Okay, so we're going to rebuild the foundations of America because the stewardship and of portfolios are lacking. Okay, so every level, even the presidential level, which is where my work is crediting the presidential office, in this case it's for Biden, these are blessings for him. Anytime he sees me, he needs to know I have his back and I care about him. I don't know him very well, but I am holding strength for him in places I know he probably doesn't have anybody else to talk to about these specific things. Okay, so what we have to do is build from the ground up this foundation again with God and have a freedom message that's genuine, not just a sales pitch. So you got to build that whole thing on E pluribus unum, in God we trust, and give God that place legitimately on contract and association of the attachments and all therein. So that starts first inside of the United States federal government bond asset portfolio. That's your first foundational portfolio as you begin your state. If you're a governor, your lawyer team, if you're a governor, needs to be listening. Your law team needs to be listening. first of all, you need to ask your law team, are you working for the Royal Crown? And if so, those are rejected. Unfortunately, right now, those are rejected. You have to have a constitutional team from the bar all the way to your council, all the way to your staff. Everybody needs to have a very clear understanding. It is more imperative now than ever to be a constitutional guy, USA All-American citizen, or a USA All-American constitutional girl, or transgender. You guys have to realize, everybody, that we are in a space right now, all, American citizens, born and raised especially, that we're representing our Constitution. The United States federal government also needs a new dedication to what is federal, which is a covenant by God to us from us to God and God to us, and the seal, created and adopted 1783, officially in our commerce, where we segued our commerce printing, in God we trust, is an official attachment to God and our bonds and all therein. Okay, good. So this United States federal government bonds assets portfolio, your living trust, that's one part of it, and then your legacy trust on your other side of it. So if you're a school opening up education, this is your foundational portfolio with your governor, okay? It's connecting to your governor's state government. And then this is the federal government. United States federal government is still inside of your state government. It's the federal jurisdiction, Supreme Court jurisdiction, a federal jurisdiction. Every state has a federal jurisdiction. So you have that inside of your state, connecting you to your state power, federal to power of state, federal power to state power, and then the state power is establishing. So you have a federal living trust, number one. You've got a federal legacy trust, number two. Then you've got a state federal living trust, and then you've got a state federal legacy trust. Every single state has these 4 trusts going on if they're smart. Now, inside of the federal state living trust is your educational schools, because these kids are alive. These kids are also individually experiencing 4 trusts, too. So first, this is the bifurcation. So this is first federal. Okay, when you're setting this up inside of White House, Congress, executive branch, you do executive branch, United States government bonds and assets, foundational, put that on there, okay? Foundational 2021, this is your rebuilding foundations now, okay? In the White House, in the jurisdiction of Washington, D.C., you've got 2 states that are Washington, D.C. You've got the old one and the new one. They're both active. You got to do it in both of them. Build it in both of them. Okay, good. All right, so inside of the United States federal foundational bonds and assets under the living trust, you will be bringing in your level. In this case, it's executive level. Presidential level is our executive branch at the very top. So we have to understand what is on this level with us, right? Okay, so here's the order that I saw, and you guys could talk, deliberate, debate, whatever about this. But this is how the order I saw. First, the federal government. That's our foundation, firm foundation. Then we have our courts, okay? Our high courts are really working together in our executive highest court, highest branches to protect the president. Makes perfect sense to have the Supreme Courts right there, equal status to the president, okay? And then Congress also is right there below the level of the president. Okay, good. So you've got your USA high courts, supremacy courts, all the invisible courts, which need to have an index so we understand that in sovereignty and in navigation. In priority for the clean independence America vision, the courts bring the women forward, and the men who have been in the establishment all this time. They do have to make a very big executive decision to bring the women forward. I highly recommend that as amicus curiae, not because I'm a woman, but because it's right, and women care the most about men, and women will bring the value of men up, and women coming together with the men in equal status make the men stronger to ascend, because what I've studied and understand clearly is that when men, as they have borne the weight of perpetuity in their lives, they get so busy working so hard on these issues, they're not fighting for their own value anymore. They've lost the focus, and they put sometimes their whole life energy into something that is just a pocket of holes like Bitcoin. So what we have to do is understand clearly the cornerstone is reality versus an illusion. Reality security, foundational bedrock security versus a digital illusion. Everything that's on the digitization that's taking off in a rocket of value, that is taking off in a rocket of false security atmosphere. Now, the tragedy about it is that they are taking a true currency of God, the American currency. If they were to track all the different kinds of currencies that are being fed Bitcoin into the Bitcoin system to digitize a real currency into an illusion currency, the reason why they do that is because the incentive for a return of investment is higher than in reality. That's a tragedy. That's a national security issue. If people are going to an illusion bigger than reality, it's because the illusion is promising them something that reality doesn't promise them. That's a entire fiat situation, to exploit the ignorance of the person. So all of gambling is fueled by a want to have a quick turnaround of investment quickly and grow this, whatever investment you have, quickly put it in and get it back and have that be an increase bigger than it was when you put it in. Okay. That is in reality a reality. You can actually do that in real reality with real currency to currency and people to people. But as soon as you feed real currency into a data bank of digitization value, and the whole thing is already full disclosure, no accountability, no security, all the money you just poured into this Bitcoin to get rich quick could evaporate just like that for no reason, and you lost, and oh well, and that's a zero sum. Those zero sum games are over in America. Those zero sum games of criminality bigger than reality finance are over in America. America is going to move all of her chips of gambling into an arena of showing our best in America, every person moving in this trajectory, and places like Las Vegas or anywhere else that you find a casino atmosphere, you have a specific type of transaction that can happen there. I don't want to go into all of it, but the way that you have people sitting there feeding machines tokens that are like the digitization Bitcoin, taking real money, transferring it and converting it into tokens, which is no value. Then they put that into a transaction machine, still no value. The slot machine is historically computerized to lose, but the people still sit there putting in no promise, to no value, to nothing, and they feed it all day long in a brainless, mindless cycle of I just want a return of investment back to me. I want to believe that I will win, and I will win, and I will win. Okay, that's gambling. Now, if you look at the gambling platform, the plat map of a casino, you're going to have your slot machines all segue away. That needs to go away. All the slot machines need to go away. You need to reconvert those slot machines, recycle all of that metal, recycle all of that stuff, bring it together, and we're going to do something completely different in terms of the calibration of the slot machines. The slot machine, if it goes in 1 iota anywhere, is that it has to be bought by a nonprofit, do good something. That money goes to somebody there, something there, a cause of bringing water throughout the entire world where there is no water, building things that have a blessing to people that would normally not have that. So the calibration needs to be a 50-50 split on all slot machines. Recalibrate to 50-50 splits. Okay, good. So 50% of the time you have a promise of winning. That is a better promise than now, which I think they're calibrated at like, I don't know, 1% of people win, if that. Okay, so the slot machine can be dedicated inside of the casino to a nonprofit that sponsors this slot machine. Now, it goes into a portfolio of learning. So what are we learning about? We're learning about the odds of return of investment on a slot machine, that if you spend this much time, because your time, it's really big that you understand that the 24 hours that you have in the day, plus the blood and all the stuff that you're made out of, this society has said it isn't worth anything, but in reality, it's gold. God's gold. You are God's gold. Everything you do is God's gold. And you're this continuum of energy called time that we're in, from the sun up to the sun down, the 24 hours of living that we do in 24 hours, that's gold stuff to God. Now, the society has fed us a lie so big to discourage everybody from even believing one word that I'm telling you. But in reality, it's super true. So if we were to break out of the old, really embrace the fact that America, you're brand new. All of us here are brand new with this call to this freedom and immeasurable wealth. But we've got to get this down quickly and understand where we are to honor our entire, all the people that have served this way to follow Parliament. All the structures of the courts are Parliament, all of the everything, all the models, all of the jurisdictions, all of it started in Parliament. Okay, let me read this to you. The purpose of the Brougham's speech was to illustrate that 3 courts of identical jurisdiction were unnecessary, and further that it would create a situation where the best judges, lawyers, cases would eventually go to one court, overburdening that body and leaving the others near useless. In 1823, 43,465 actions were brought in the King's Bench. This is back in 1823, not in America. They were brought in the King's Bench. 13,009 cases in the Common Pleas and 6,778 in the Executive Pleas. Not surprisingly, the King's Bench judges were immoderately overburdened. The Common Pleas judges were fully occupied in terms and much engaged in vacation as well, and the barons of the executor were comparatively little occupied either in term or vacation. Occupied in term and or vacation. So the atmosphere around these 3 judicial bodies preceding America's courts, and then giving us their model to duplicate here, which is what we've done, okay, it is counterproductive. In response to this and the report of the committee investigating the slow pace, which is exactly what's happened, our Constitution says a speedy trial, a quick, get through it, move quickly, let's move along while we have this issue in front of us. Evidence is fresh. Let's go ahead and deliberate now while we have this fresh in front of everybody. That's the best way. That's our Constitution. That's what our Constitution says. We have access, rights, inalienable rights to a quick and speedy trial. To get it through, go through it, get it done with. Don't overburden everybody and the court. Okay. That's not what has happened. What has happened, I personally can testify, the case is fighting for our own estate. As I came into Stephen's life and saw the issues that needed pushback and someone to represent us, and we tried to hire attorneys that were sworn to the bar without telling us. They took our money, didn't fight for us, in fact, took depositions to give to the enemy and said, let's go ahead and file for behind the scenes and get all this configured and manipulated behind the scenes for us as attorneys and tell them we just can't help them. This has been bad, but this is the Court of Chancery. This is the Parliament. This is the issue of the Bar Association. If you have an attorney who's working for the Royal Bar, you try to fight for a mortgage that the Royal Bar owns, and they don't disclose the Royal Bar owns it, and they hire you just to get you in front of a judge to tell the judge to tell you you're foreclosed officially, and because the courts are pocket courts of the Royal Bar. So the Royal Bar is already determined in the judge system, the whole system, is that all the mortgages that come in from 2007 belong to the Royal Crown. And that is now dispersed into India, now dispersed into different places. So England doesn't look so bad, but it is exactly the Royal Crown of England that instigated all of this, moved these mortgages into India, owned by the crowns of royalty of England. And the East India Trading Company alliance is like this with the Royal Crown of England. But what the Royal Crown of England calls on the East India relationship is to take the Royal Crown of England into the presidential office and pander to break down the actual constitutional power to take over slowly into this old ancient pattern of oppression. In response to this and the report of the committee investigating the slow pace of the Court of Chancery, the Judiciary Commission was formed in 1867, given a wide remit to investigate reform of the courts, the law, and the legal profession. 5 reports were issued from March 25th, 1869 to July 10th, 1864, and the first dealing with the formation of the single Supreme Court of Judicature. This is way back, 1874, that the first Supreme Court, to try out getting rid of these other guys, just first started, which is still very fresh. Okay, and considered the most influential. The report disposed of the previous idea of merging the common law and equity. You notice how common law and equity are considered completely separate, distinctly separate issues. Common law and equity, and instead suggested a single Supreme Court capable of using, keyword, using both, a Supreme Court using both. Interesting word, using. Equity, using equity. Okay, so there's a whole management here of the Supreme Court to use equity. Okay, good. So in 1870, the Lord Chancellor, Lord Hathery, attempted to bring the recommendations into law through the Act of Parliament. You've just changed all jurisdiction going into Parliament, but did not go to the trouble of consulting the judiciary or the leader of the Conservatives, who controlled the House of Lords, another jurisdiction. The bill ran into strong opposition from lawyers, judges, particularly Alexander Cockburn. Cockburn? Okay. After Hathery was replaced by Lord Selborne in 1872, sell the born, sell who's being born, sell those that are brand new being born. This is the guy Lord Selborne, okay? Holding perpetuity, literally bearing weight of the very words spoken when people say your name. Accomplishing that with the authority given to you. This is a Lord guy with the words Selborne as his name. Okay, very good. So you go from there to Lord Selborne in September of 1872. Then a second bill was introduced after consultation with the judiciary, although along the same lines, it was far more detailed. Okay, the Act finally passed as the Supreme Court Judicature Act of 1873, merged the Common Pleas. Listen to this. This is ancient Common Pleas Court. Merged these jurisdictions. The executor, which is the executor of the estates, which is the highest seat of a trust structure. In this case, this person is a judge executor in royal jurisdiction. Okay? King's Bench and Court of Chancery. So you got the kings here too now. The kings inside of the Federalist Papers discerns that a king is a different DNA than a human life person in the United States of America who's running the country in the name of the President of the United States. According to this particular model of Parliament and all therein, the executor, the lords, the nine, the whole thing, have all agreed for ancients of days that since America started, that the royalty across the pond is superior to anything we would put together here as common men and women and children of God or anywhere here. That's bogus and it's totally untrue and unscientifically true as well. Okay, good. So when we're looking at this and we're seeing the historical record and we're seeing a king's bench and we're here with the constitutional authority of freedom, those don't match. One iota, they don't match. They're in this situation, by sheer chance, both the Chief Justice of the Common Pleas, the Chief Baron of the Executor, died in 1880, allowing for the abolition of the Common Pleas Division and the Executor Division by order in Council on December 16, 1880. The High Court was reorganized into Chancery Division, which is the same thing, Parliament, Chancery. King's Bench, same thing, Parliament, King's Bench. And the probate, which doesn't even decipher probate of what? Which jurisdiction? Probate of federal, probate of civil, probate of what? Probate, comma, divorce, and Admiralty Division. The King's Bench, now Queen's Bench, that's a merge as well, no one's talked about. Division remains to this day as Lord. Bogus. I highly object, doesn't remain this day. It's in fact inferior to America and all therein that God has done through our founding fathers. Their lives were given for a greater revelation than where they came from, which is all of this before. Good. So when you're looking at jurisdiction in America, you have to respect the power of that clearly. So herein it says, due to a misunderstanding by Sir Edward Coke. In his Institutes of the Laws of England, academics thought for a long time that the King's Bench was primarily a criminal court. This was factually incorrect. No indictment was tried by the King's Bench until January of 1323, which is the same time of the Spanish era of time, the 1300s, Queen Isabella, and if I'm correct, there was this entire work going on from the 1300s to the 1600s about this wrestling through democracy versus royalty, and these old ancient authorities that were grappling to not allow the sophistication of revelation of advancing, coming more into this ownership thing. And they didn't want ownership. King's Bench has never wanted the peasant. They've always looked at everybody like peasants, subjects. Stay down, diminished, keep you inferior, keep you down. They're up here and they're keeping everybody down. That's over. It's completely over in America. Okay, so the court did have some criminal jurisdiction with the royal ordinance in 1293, directing conspiracy cases to be brought to the King's Bench, and the court's judges acting in trail baston commissions around the country. A.T. Carter, in History of English Legal Institutions, defines the early King's Bench jurisdiction as to correct all crimes and misdemeanors that amounted to a breach of the peace, the king being then plaintiff, for such were in derogation of the jura regalia, and to take cognizance of everything not parceled out to the other courts. By the end of the 14th century, much of the criminal jurisdiction had declined, although the court maintained, and it goes on and on. My point is this, Your Honor, 1323, 1300s, 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s. We're now at 2021. That's 821 years. 821 years of this, going through this type of back and forth. We're not going to, we're looking at you like a specimen through our microscope to see if you're regalia, see if you understand that you are royal. See if you get this. The royals know you're royal, but they want to know, how much of this do you get? Okay? Okay. True sovereignty isn't playing the part. True sovereignty embodies all of this freedom knowledge. You have to go there. America has to go there. She's been so hurt because of her illiteracy of finance that is no longer going to be the MO of America, one iota. Okay, so the issues of jurisdiction, I'm trying to implore, not in an adversary, not as an adversary, not to my own country and not to my own authorities. When I speak in this place I'm speaking from is an authority over your authority, but in great grace and love and care, because I know God has shown me you can't see a lot of this stuff. So you're vulnerable here, and God wants you covered and protected and cared for, and blessed financially in the things that you've missed. Jurisdiction is not worthy of full respect, one iota, from America. Constitutional freedom doesn't give respect to oppressive, even quote-unquote, friends. Now, this is an index from my teacher's Bible, and God gave this to me to read to you today. And he's wanting you to look at this, and it says foundation. The lower part of any structure. Number 2, definitions out of the Bible. First definition, lower part of any structure. Foundation. Say it with me. Foundation. lower part of any structure. Good. Now, if you put the people of America on the, as you're looking at it now, okay, and say you're on my forensic analysis team, and I'm having you step back and get a panoramic of America's people, and would you tell me they were either on the air, land, or sea? The majority of America's people, are they on air up here, land here, or sea down in the sea? Do they live on the sea? We have military on the sea, obviously, but do the majority of the people live in America on air, land, or sea? Okay, good. It's land. Correct. So, when you're looking at the foundations of the world and you have sea level right there with you, that's the foundation, the sea level, right there. Okay, and then you go from the sea level up into the vertical living, and then you can say, well, we live in the sky in a vertical living tower, or we live in the sky in a vertical living skyscraper, or we live in the sky in a vertical living city. Big city, major cities are vertical living, most people. That would be considered living in the air. Okay, after a certain point, you're up in the air. Good. So what America needs is to look at her foundations and go through them and fortify her foundations in all things that are truly America. Now, even our stories of pioneering America, having to do with all the bloodshed, all the wars, all the killings, all the slavery, all of the debauchery, all of the pain, sorrow, suffering, everything, and we're still feeling it throughout America on some level if you have not been born into this privilege. So in the first definition, it is to the lower part of any structure. Number 2 definition, the beginning of a thing. The beginning of a thing. That's also a foundation. 2021, the beginning of the quantified freedom. That's going to take us there. Good. Often, this is the number 2 definition, the beginning of a thing, often used figuratively of Christ, God's truths, and the teaching of them. Good. Those scriptures are in the New Testament are Matthew 13, Romans 15, 1 Corinthians 3, and Ephesians 2. Now, under the foundation, the word foundation is the word fountains. My personal mother's side of my life, I've not known my mother, still don't know my mother, but I know that her name is De La Fuentes, and this is fountains. This is the word that's right underneath the foundation's word. These are often mentioned in the Bible. Fountains, these are often mentioned in the Bible and mean springs of water. They are of a special value in the dry and thirsty land of Judea. Judea, forensically, is indicative of the Jews, a dry and thirsty land in the heart of the Jews, a dry and thirsty land in the heart of the Delaware, a dry and thirsty land in anywhere around these issues of Judea and all the history therein about the peoples, the cultures, the lands, all therein. It says that many places were named from some fountain in the vicinity. God is likened to a fountain of living waters as the source of our happiness and our comfort. And I want to just, again, just give God a super big shout out to from the earth to heaven. And all that God is amazing. And He's always here with me, speaking to my heart, to have courage, to continue, and to continue to share everything that God is saying He wants to do. Okay, so we're building this foundation. So the first one is our federal government, our state government, our bond and asset portfolios, that we have those pathways for all. So it's to the jurisdiction of federal, to the jurisdiction of state, to the jurisdiction of the people, to the jurisdiction of all the design that we are going to agree to go ahead and do. And I'm going to recap all that I've already given to you guys since 2016-17. This is the same design I've been trying to give to you guys. Okay, so our first one is that's the foundation. The next foundation is our courts. Our courts have been very oppressed by the pocket courts of the parliament. Every time you go into a court or any jurisdiction, there's a possibility that judge is already told these royal issues, or why this, that, and all the other. And it's very difficult anymore. It's been difficult for our judges to not be biased, but it's now freedom for all judges to have a very strong emphasis on constitutional freedoms and rights and all that good stuff. Okay, so this is the next piece that goes on top of the foundation of these federal structures, state structures. It is our administrative, it is our executive, it is our legislative inside of our courts, all that they're in, this is a different emphasis because we're giving the freedom to the people. So the money that was always held back, we now have structure for the people, even kids, K through 12, that these trust funds of school are going to the schools in the kids' names for them, for the things that you're going to need to teach your class, whether remote or in person. The teachers are literally bonding to the student one at a time. And so these teachers are going to have great value. Okay, the judges are literally going to be bonding to every case. So the cases can't go into the courts until the remedy is designed. So the judge is not composing a remedy, but the judge is asking himself or herself for the state, because the state has 5 elements to it. So the judges are looking at the freedom of the state of mind, state of the state of the person, state of the what jurisdiction are we in, and understanding how well are we supporting that, or are we even there? Because this whole thing has not even had anybody building this value that's right in front of us. So that's why we need like 2 to 3 years to really have a strength about this, to know what we're doing here with our commerce system. The women being ascending as well to the women's courts. Okay, so we need to have a Supreme Court of the women, Supreme Court men, and then they have their current court, where the court is mixed, but the current court is improperly representing, deficient, neglected to represent women in all of these issues. So the court is way too small for the burden of the court, and the men, so the women are going to ascend to the men's value, make that official. Then the men and the women together agree together. Let's now go and fill the disparity. Now, when you see Bitcoin growing to the point that it is, you're looking at a pressurized system, unsecure, but still showing you evidentiary. It's a pressuring, it's pressurizing, and then it's going to do something, and poof, and it just disappears. Okay, in America, in our real commerce system, running parallel with an equal court of equal power of men and women, understanding when you're looking around you, this is a quantum evidence thing. So if you see a parallel inside of America, a parallel digitized fake complete thing where they're actually building this value up to the point of what they're doing, that is your evidence that the currency, the true currency, is free and clear to go there. Boom, take it. And you understand what I'm trying to say. That you can either attach to friendships that do nothing but steal from you and give you false definitions to very powerful words like freedom and liberty. Liberty isn't freedom. Liberty, the Statue of Liberty, is to say, come here, let us minister to you, let us help you to raise your life up. And as you go, you will go through a process of asking permission to be free, to go through more. Everybody's being tested about their freedom. Can they handle this freedom, the true freedom? And up until this time, nobody's broke through true freedom into sovereignty for everybody. No president has yet done that for us. So we're trying to do that now, okay, in full, clear-minded, quantified, realistic, where the rubber meets the road in real life reality. We're not doing a digitized reality. We're doing a concrete bedrock. You can't separate it from the people. Therefore, you can't crash the system. Good. So there's our high court supremacy. That's our next step. We have our next body of power, which is our military. Now, our treasury goes hand in hand with our courts, just so you know. So our treasury is right here with our courts. Our next one is our military, USA military. Now, in the Maidens, this designed by God. God rewards the soldiers, men and women, anybody with courage, real courage, that's pushing back against anything that's keeping us from being free. God is wanting to reward and find those people, encourage them, bless them, build their trust structures. Anytime you see a citizen that comes out of the woodwork and they really show themselves strong without a conflict of interest, but they're working on behalf of America Free, this is big. You have to understand that it's big. So, born and raised America, this is U.S. military. There's 5 portfolios inside of this particular one. All of these are trust, like inside of my administration, my presidential administration. I would have a money management team, really close. I would have a Bloomberg screen. I'd have a forensics lab. I would make sure that we would be processing everything through a bill reader, so that when they hand you a 7,000-page bill, you basically feed it through this computer, and it digitizes the quantum thing, and it brings forward. So you shouldn't be able to do a bill of 7,000 pages because of the fact that you can't. You're not disclosing. Okay, good. That's our next one, our military. The next one is our churches. Okay, and that is going hand in hand with E Pluribus Unum, and all of that goes together. Hi, honey. And then we've got energy. This is the human life energy of students, as well as the energy sector of energy, green energy, and all that we're doing. So our USA schools are holding our K through 12 kids. Our K through 12 kids is our legacy, and so we bump up the value of all the kids. There is a $600 billion allocation for one lifetime, but that's way more than we're ever going to need, so that transfers into trust equities. Good. 7 through 12. K through 12. The next one is NASA is working together with the schools, because NASA is going to teach kids how to float, how to fly, how to be weightless, how to understand gravity, how to do the whole science thing on the earth get into the celestials. What are you going to experience when you're flying around in a flying car? What are you going to experience when you're all over? And so aircrafts, air cars, that's going into the new engineering portfolio of energy. Then it's got the U.S. business ownership, beneficial ownership on top of building on top of all of these different ones. So by the time you get to beneficial ownership, the courts are looking at literally how you bought into these different levels from the foundation of 2021 to wherever we are. Now, the medical forces are going to be, again, featured as, a lot of the times they're heroes because they're on the front line. Okay, good. Now, inside of here, everything's in here of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is the number of new beginnings. So this brand new model is super well thought out, and forethought is in all of this to maximize your return of investment. Okay, good. So every single day you're going to be going into these different things, and they're going to be made known to you. Okay, good. Now the president, this is written January 18th, 1803. This is, again, goes back to President Thomas Jefferson of a secret letter to the Congress. Now here's the president writing a secret letter to the Congress. Now the Congress is under oath for confidentiality as well as immunity. So the president of the United States can go to their Congress through a secret and say, this is very big, to get us ahead, to get us an advantage over our all over the world. We can take the advantage within inside of our domestic body here in America, and we can be secretive, and we can get the advantage. So by the time we open back up again, we're going to show everybody super strong who we really are. Now, while we're shut down for a year, involved in all of this infrastructure of understanding how to stand strong domestically and in our foreign accounts, we're going to open back up to foreign trade at a specific time. And in that time, America's going to specifically ask you, all foreign traders, give us your 8 top best products. Show me what they are. You want to see from every new foreign friend, ally, or even a trading partner that has never been a trading partner, your first question of negotiations into trade are, what are your top, let's just say 10, your top 10 products that you can be super proud of, have no toxic materials, have no poisons to get inside of anybody's life, have no, if they're cars, that they don't have airbags that are going to cause, flying shards of glass. You want to know that you want to see their top 10 beautiful, pure products that are the top of the line products for the world. That's what America is going to be wanting to see. Your top 10 products, whether that's agriculture, whether that's fashion, whatever that is. You guys got to be ready when America reopens, because we're going to have top 10, and we're going to share those with you. And that's going to be powerful on our side, what we can offer you. And I pray all over the world globally that instead of thinking of war, that you will be thinking of the peacetime productivity of your country. What are those top 10 products that you can bring to the world's table and say, these are the best in the world? Literally the best. You will find these the best in the world. And you've done your homework. You're not doing a sales pitch. You're not pretending. You're not acting. You're truly there. Okay, good. So, Thomas Jefferson wrote a secret letter. It says on this date, President Thomas Jefferson sent a secret letter to Congress requesting financing for a transcontinental exploration that became the Lewis and Clark expedition of 1804 to 1806. And in the letter, Jefferson asked for $2,500, obliquely describing the expedition as being for the purpose of extending the external commerce of the United States specifically. Okay. He says that the appropriation would be understood and considered by the executive as giving the legislative sanction could cover the undertaking from notice and prevent the obstructions which interested individuals might prepare in its way. Jefferson outlined a route that suggested that an intelligence officer with 10 or 12 chosen men might explore the whole line, even to the Western Ocean, have conferences with the natives of the subject of commercial intercourse, and return with the information acquired in the course of 2 summers, 2 years. During deliberations on the act, the House imposed an injunction of secrecy upon itself as an act for extending the external commerce of the United States in published accounts. Final passage of the act occurred on February 22, 1803, 8 months after approving the funds for the Lewis and Clark expedition. Jefferson finalized the Louisiana Purchase Treaty on October 31, 1803, which is in the United States, with France. Now, here's my point. If you can do a secrecy of extending the United States commerce, then you can do a secrecy now, 2021, for 1 year of extending the United States commerce. Now, where you would extend it is first domestically by changing the matrix and changing the vector and changing the axis of interest of this USA dollar. You would renounce officially for the public record and all over the world that there has been an overlooking of epiphany of the currency of the United States of America. There has been an overlooking of the actual value that was instituted when the seal was adopted and created. The Great Seal of America was adopted and created in 1783. There's been a lot of research and development overlooked. We now get this new epiphany is an immeasurable commerce, which changes the entire rule book for America, that we're stewarding over a holy nation, a holy commerce, a holy people, a peculiar people. And we're striving for this freedom of the Holy Bible ambience that is all about where God is. Okay, so good. So again, if you guys want to know that this precedence to have a secretive atmosphere around the Treasury for the year, that we're going to be shut down 1 more year, not inside of America. We're very much open and doing business in America, but it is super important for the presidential all the way down to understand we have not given America the intense respect that she deserves in terms of investing in all citizens supported by direct access accounts inside of trust structures where they can't be ripped off and stolen easily. It's very difficult to do it. Now that Putin has had his internet for since 2016 to now, he didn't just hack in, he copied the whole thing, set it up. We've been inside of that, and we have to get out of that. America needs to shut down completely, reboot back up into her own system. Good. So the date on this occurred on February 22nd, 1803. That's today's the 20th. In 2 days, this will be an anniversary about the passage, the final passage of Lewis and Clark to expand the currency of America. This is a perfect time for the United States Treasury through the bonds of Biden, presidential seat, bonds of Biden, requisition from the Treasury, brand new stocks and bonds, anniversary bonds, in the maturation of bonds, so those are coming forward with the actual value from 200 years ago. 1803 would be 1903, 2003, and then we're moving to 2003 to 2021, so 1718. So it's 218 years anniversary of extending our commerce. Let's get on it. These are big. Treasury funds. Guys, okay, good. Got that. Now, Bar Association. The bar examination is right here in front of me, the New Mexico Bar and Bar Examiners. Now, if I take the bar and pass the bar, then I no longer am independent. I no longer can fight for the things I've been fighting for. I no longer am free. I am then submitted to, as in any other attorney, you submit to all of these confidentiality stuff. Can't do it. My ministry, my foundation in God is first, And that is the other thing here in our churches, is that inside of the foundations here, of the very first foundation, is E pluribus unum, in God we trust. So even though churches are like our fourth layer up, God and faith and all of that is down here in the bedrock federal jurisdiction. Good. So you guys see that. Okay, so that is the deal on this. That is my ministerial job, is to make sure that I don't take an oath that is going to contradict with my salvation, my oath to God, and my highest jurisdiction. So I can come forward as an amicus curia, right here. This is my amicus curia card, and I am I have professional law study, and I have certified audit, Bloomberg study. I have all of this forensic study. So I have authority here higher than God and higher than this bar association, just so you know. Okay, that's what makes me get to come over. Now, in this research paper outline, it is about the forensic finance of slave revenues from the UK and to the United States of America. The combined wealth, the next line item is the combined wealth of two nations of slavery, to come to July 5th, 2019, which is when I did this particular outline. And it is focused on the UK historic slavery and the USA slavery, 244 years, collective slave revenues. And the thesis is regarding the American trade, the background story, and then under that would be the America by association accepted slave structures. And so A is America's slave masters, which goes into the United Kingdom and the European aristocracy to America. And then B is the America's slaves, all ages. And then the second line, major body of point of interest here on this research is the United Kingdom from 1670, that's still very new, to A, British slave masters, B, slaves, 1, revenue productions, and 2, slave poverty. Even though there's high revenue productions and incredible success to make America, there was a matching slave poverty. A, slave people's lives, and B, the wealth of the investment portfolios, the matured investments, the dynasty trust, which is the Delaware, and the perpetuity law, which is affecting all people, including our superior court justices. So all of this has come together and made a full continuum of reaping and sowing. And until we change that narrative with all of the energy of God, and therefore heretofore with the world in our nation and here in America, until we change that narrative officially from our highest jurisdictions down, this is the continuum. It continues to stay master slave, master slave, master slave, and everybody down. Your equity separate. As you can see, it's gone on this way for a really long time, and this is what we're going to change. Now, inside of the congressional record, this is one congressional record, and they print these out. This one is the Proceedings and Debates of the 116th Congress, first section, and this is volume 165, Washington, on Thursday, July 25th of 2019. This is just one. This is just one day of the congressional record. To stay on top of this is super burdensome. But inside of this one is about the credit default swaps, okay? And that there was a premeditation involved here about the credit default swaps. And that there were security conversations about managing the cash, about the security swaps, okay? Which goes into this thesis of research. One of the theses that I've done on the research of the slaves and poverty and the entire abuse involved to create over here the successful nation called the United States of America. Until America makes right what how she became strong. And until she honors those that made her strong, she will go in this perpetual motion to be destroyed, because those that are watching us, the great cloud of witnesses of heaven, know when we're lying to ourselves and know when we're telling the truth and truly putting our money where our mouth is to make things right. Good. Here's my resume, Ambassador of Finance, Forensic Finance, and it's here in front of everything so you guys know who I am. Now, what we're going to do with under my watch is to make sure that we go slower, and we're putting together these portfolios with, like here in New Mexico, the best people to work with are Thornburg, Garrett Thornburg, probably the best. And I would be working with him, which would be fun. And I used to know his maid. Okay, good. So we have here a declaration of claims of the dynasty trusts. We have the claims for the royal assets of America, claims of the royal dynasty trusts in America. The trusts of America include the royal assets, include the executive, include the chancery, everything that they were doing, and ours. All of our assets are ours. So the chancery, the executor, the lords, all these guys across the pond, all the banks, everything, all of that belongs to America. So all of the leadership need to get on board with getting all of that over to America. Tesla is actually, these are elite crimes that I'm going to bring out right now that need to see the Department of Justice to look into. Now, Nicholas Tesla was mysteriously killed, died from a fall from a balcony at a hotel. His entire estate was taken by the government, and now they've given it to Elon Musk. And why they picked him is because Germany is very much involved in laundering money through Tesla. Now, I know this by personal testimony, and I can prove to you what I'm telling you is true. But Tesla comes on as a friend to attach to you in this idea of an electric car, when we just saw yesterday or the day before an entire state like Texas with an independent electrical grid going out over just one day of bad weather. The entire electrical grid of an entire state is still out as we speak, and this is supposed to be the great idea of the next economy of cars. This is counterproductive. We don't have time to waste on this. If you can pull the plug out of the wall and take down your entire nation and take down your entire state and take down your entire commerce system and all they're in, everybody's in danger, then you don't have a good idea, okay? So this Elon Musk thing is forcing a financial attachment by going electric cars. I can take you through the forensic of this, but I do have the entire law case put together here, and how my body of proof of evidence on what I'm telling you that is true. It happened to me in LA, my experience with Tesla and what they did to forcibly attach to me and what that costed me and what it trained me to understand about Tesla. Okay, so elite crimes. These are the parties of this are Germany, the transportation division, all those that are interested in the foreign financial crime attachments of the involving the parties of Tesla, involving the parking authorities, involving the energy that is going into, and a lot of that tracks back to the mafias, by the way, so you guys know that. The other crimes that are very much in your face happening here in New Mexico is that PNC Bank. Now, if you do your homework on PNC Bank, they have been in trouble with Robert Mueller and Bill Barr through the Department of Justice, and they have reprimanded PNC Bank and agreed through the courts that they would be on a deferral, disciplinary deferral kind of probation thing for 10 years because of their involvement. So what they did when President Trump was saying that dead people voted, this is what's happened in our own personal life of a lady that died, and PNC Bank fraudulently went into the behind the scenes here locally, inside of the county record and inside of the state record and inside of the court record even, changed the court record, took our names off of our own properties, and we took this all the way into the Supreme Court, and we were treated terribly and horribly all the way through appeals court, Supreme Court, 9 years of this, okay? And so what PNC did was they took this dead lady's identity and remortgaged her property that didn't even have a balance on it. She had it covered, her mortgage was insured, and she had it covered with a personal coverage loan, and she died and everything was paid off, but her name is Royalty Jimenez, which is Spanish for Jesus. These are deep pockets here in New Mexico of the church, of the trusts, of the people, and this is just one name. Jimenez is only one royal family here being treated so badly, but it goes into all of the beautiful Spanish crown names: Aragon, Cruz, Valdez, Herrera, Rivera, all of the beautiful Spanish crown names that I have a list of all of them. This is the courts need to be redesigned, and I want to remind you that I brought this to you. So PNC Bank is big-time fraud about the dead people, senior citizens, and here in New Mexico, people can't afford an attorney. So when things go bad legally, somebody's stolen their identity or stolen their house mortgage after they're dead and done all this debauchery with finance and big corporate finance to hurt us who are really alive and understand what's going on. Yeah, when you go into it here in New Mexico, it gets egregiously horrible. They will cause pain. They will inflict disease. They will imbecile your family. They will hit you. They will hurt you to take your crown, to take your estate, your royal estate. And what they say at the court level to justify this transfer to the attorneys is that the people are neglecting their estates, and but then the reality of the matter is the people don't even know they have a royal estate to cultivate, because they've been so psychologically programmed to believe that they're nothing but poor slaves, only worthy of a part-time, a minimum wage job. We need a president who's going to lift this nation out of the slave psychology and the slave mental illness that has caused everybody to believe in this just one little portion of their life, a job. That's all they see. Do I have a job? That's it. Because if they don't have a job, they don't eat. And if they don't eat, they're going to suffer. And if they suffer, they could die. And it goes on and on. These are royal families, as royal as the English family royalty or anywhere else in the world. These people here in New Mexico, all royal, most of them, even in Arizona where I was saved, and those families there in that church. I mean, I'm still friends with so many people that have this trail of royal giving without any respect and only a poverty kind of like atmosphere, and God is saying no more of that. There's abundance for all, and it's about good building and understanding good stewardship and having people at the helm who can understand, okay, we've got to stop here and build this portfolio value. This is where we are. Okay, so that's what I wanted you to see. These are my investment portfolios just for the building here. This goes in, it branches out, all of them do. So we all need each other in this, okay? We all need each other in this. Okay, I want to remind you of this design. Okay, so come over here. Okay, now I gave this plan. This is pretty big. Gave that plan to Mitch McConnell here. And this is dated here, 2017. The first signature was 2017. Okay, and that is about the royalty, the dynasty wealth, the layout of the constitutional courts, the layout of the template for your blessings, guys. It's got our military covered. It's got our homeland security, our intelligence, our military, our communication, our mail, our TV, cable, all the healthcare, food, water, air, environment, the global housing, but the domestic housing, because we're going to be helping everybody there. Our courts are completely revamped and different here to be promoting the sovereignty and freedom courts down here. Okay, these are our zones. So there's 7 zones altogether. Okay, 7 zones. Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, Zone 4, Zone 5, 6, 7. And 1 is regarding our homeland and really taking care of that security and all of the main securities that are required to keep everybody in a good space. Zone 2 is this intelligence and military, a little bit more secretive, to get this thing up into beneficial ownership. Number 3 is our health care and realizing that pharma has to put their arms around marijuana because marijuana is a root system of medicinal care. And we've got our environment, which is a whole nother conversation regarding weather as a weapon or weather as a retail market, which is they're buying and selling weather. We have our new Royal Life Security Trust as well as our Civil Life Security Trust. We have our sanctuary of our housing as well as our sanctuary of our state and our nation, which we're now doing. We have our personal bank corporation, which sends with us in sovereignty and freedom and of our courts, understanding where we are in every single quadrant, in every single place that we are in our life. We have an accountability there. Then over here, you guys with me still? Okay, good. This is what we want to do inside of America first, which is the rebuilding of the royal administrative structures, returning the value to all the people, establishing the claiming the lands and the homestates and estates, the education of communities, understanding your culture and understanding your value, understanding the math and science segue, the exploration and the charting of the courses to be more intentional, and then number 5 is to become united through the building of the brand new communities, fresh design, building, creating, and with an ambiance of creating success. And then all of this is guaranteed by the Holy Bible. And this is for the Middle East, that we want to take this into our foreign countries and fine arts and all the stuff that we're going to be doing at home. We want to take the same template and go into our alliances and offer some of this fresh energy for new foundations of redemption. Okay, and there's great value in this, and Jesus Christ offers that. Okay, guys, I needed to give you that today. And know that I care about you so much, and pray for us because we're holding a lot of weight, as there are so many all around America that are holding so much weight for others that they don't even know really how are we doing this together. And God, it takes a tremendous amount of trusting in God to do well with God, and letting God do the thing that is too big for us. But God says, don't shrink back and don't act like, it can't happen. Nothing's impossible. For all things are possible with God to do, for all things, for all here, all over the world, for us domestically and all over the world. Father, in Jesus' name, move in power, move in blessings today, Saturday. Let this message go through and encourage all. Lord, that if we will focus and we will stop allowing these old powers of oppression to steal all of our blessings, God, if you will just move powerfully on all those that have authority to bring forward this freedom, quantified freedom, like we've never seen before. Let it reach our highest powers, let it reach our highest representatives of authority, and to consider strongly all that herein, therein, God. We thank you, we love you, and we give you all the praise, Jesus, for your love for America. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, love you guys. You guys take care.